Dad had a positive impact on all who knew him. Helena and Dad and I were in Barcelona in 1993. We were riding in a taxi, Dad in the front seat, I was in the back seat with Helena. Dad noticed that the license of the taxi driver mounted on the dashboard. In Catalan, he said to him, "You have a very unique last name. During the Spanish Civil War, I operated on a colonel with the same last name." The taxi driver turned to Dad and said, "You must be Dr. Ponseti." The taxi driver was the son of this colonel who had been almost mortally wounded during the war, and Dad had put this broken body back together. The boy went home, apparently, or the colonel went home, apparently told his young boy about this wonderful doctor who had put him back together, and proceeded to tell my father that Franco had executed his dad at the end of the war. Toward the end of the Spanish Civil War, it was obvious that Franco was winning. Dad knew the Pyrenees Mountains very well, as he hiked them extensively. He organized and led multiple evacuations with wounded military leaders and influential people who have otherwise been jailed or shot by Franco. Some made the trek on foot, some by mule. It took several days. They traveled by night to avoid Franco's troops. They hid in caves. And in 1991, when Helena and Dad and I were vacationing in Mallorca, we were having lunch with a cousin and her husband. The conversation was in Catalan. Dad paused and said in English to me, "Bill, you have to hear this." He explained to me that at the beginning of the Civil War, Franco took Mallorca and forced all the young men to join his army. The husband of our cousin sitting at the table was an officer in Franco's army. Near the end of the Spanish Civil War, he was given orders to hunt down and capture this renegade doctor who was smuggling Republican Army personnel from Spain into France. Dad had a special gift with children, as we all know. At his 1984 retirement dinner, a former resident came up to me. He said, "You know, I recall going on rounds with your father. We would go into wards of crying and fussing children. And he said the mere entrance of your father into that room caused the crying and the fussing of these children to cease." He went on to tell me that my father had a greater impact on him, his education, his life, and his career than any other teacher or professor he'd had. I wish I could remember the name of this resident, but then again, I think it could be one of many. Many times, Dad expressed to me he wished he could stop the clubfoot from forming prenatally. Dad loved and respected the hardworking and noble people of Iowa. He often said to me that he was very well suited living in Iowa City, and that nowhere else but at the University of Iowa would he have been afforded the opportunities and support to pursue his passions with children in medicine and medical research. He said something that touched me a few years ago. He said two concerned parents came to him with a baby, a newborn baby, with severely crippled bilateral clubfoot. In his slight Spanish accent, speaking English, he said, took the baby, put it on his lap, and he said, "Oh, what beautiful feet. I can fix them." Helen and I were fortunate to be at his side when he passed. That experience I treasure, I will never forget. Thank you.